It's Super Bowl Sunday, and even though the 49ers aren't playing, we're still bringing you a fresh batch of 49ers news and rumors. What can I say? I'm addicted to the grind, and I'm addicted to talking Niners football. So if you want to stay in the know with all things Niners all year round, hit that red subscribe button down below. We're a little more than 300 subscribers away from 56,000 subs. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Coming your way on today's show, more rumors about a Jimmy Garoppolo trade and the buzz around Tom Brady potentially coming to San Francisco this offseason if he indeed comes out of retirement continues to grow as we hit on a recent article from Pro Football Talk. I watched the highlights of the NFC Championship game this morning between the Niners and the Rams. Absolutely brutal. Cannot believe that San Francisco is not playing in this game in Super Bowl 56 from SoFi Stadium. The heartbreak still remains. All right. Either way, bringing you this video from the crib, not from the Chat Sports studios, because there's a lot that we have to talk about on this fine Sunday. So according to Mike Garofolo of NFL Network, he talked about a Jimmy Garoppolo trade potentially happening when the new league year does start. Some interesting notes here. Garoppolo has a no-trade clause for the next 31 days, but it does expire on the first day of the league year on March 16th. Now, he did say that's not a huge factor. Whether a trade is agreed upon before that or after, it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo and his agent working with the San Francisco 49ers front office in a collaborative effort to find a trade partner. And he said you can connect the dots to quarterback needy teams that are going to be in the market for a quarterback, like the Houston Texans and the New Orleans Saints, but those trade discussions have not started yet, but they are going to start soon. Of course, San Francisco just fell in the aforementioned NFC Championship game, and they're getting everything set as far as their plans for this offseason, and a Jimmy Garoppolo trade going to be one of the biggest storylines in the 2022 NFL offseason. Other quarterback-needy teams, in addition to the ones that Garofolo mentioned, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, really the leader in the clubhouse, Ryan Shazier, saying over the weekend that he thinks Jimmy Garoppolo could be a good Ben Roethlisberger replacement. I agree with that. They have everything in place. Good coach, studs on defense, good running game, and they've been one of the best drafters of wide receiver talent in the NFL over the last several years. So I think that makes the most sense because, as we know, Jimmy Garoppolo, somewhat of a limited quarterback, has won a bunch of games in San Francisco, but does need help around him. Carolina Panthers, also in need of a quarterback because Sam Darnold ain't it. Washington football team is on that list. I know Mike McDaniel on the PJ going to his introductory press conference to become the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins, got on FaceTime and talked to Tua Tagovailoa, but because that connection is there, I don't think you can rule out Miami either, although I think that's somewhat unrealistic. Two other teams, though, Cleveland Browns, and how about the Indianapolis Colts? According to Chris Mortenson on ESPN, they are expected after only 1 year to move on from Carson Wentz. They're going to look to trade him leading up to that March 16th date. And if they can't find a trade partner, they could outright release Carson Wentz after that 1 year experiment. So you really put the Indianapolis Colts into that conversation as well, because like some of those other teams, they're ready to win right now, and they want to go after a quarterback that helps lead them back to the playoffs and into playoff contention. What better quarterback out there to do that than Jimmy Garoppolo? So that's why I've always said there's going to be a vast market for Jimmy G, leadership qualities, great for the clubhouse culture. He's about a middle-tier quarterback who's won a bunch of games, and he does a bunch of things well. And that's why I think that San Francisco is going to be able to get about a second-round pick back, if not maybe a third-round pick and a player. And if that's the case, that latter scenario, you get a third-round pick back for Garoppolo, as well as maybe a cornerback. That helps the 49ers in this win-now mode. Now, as we know, San Francisco is ready to win right now. And I think this organization is an elite and more dynamic quarterback away from really contending for the Lombardi Trophy. You see what the Rams did, upgrading from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford. That offense was so much more potent, so much more dangerous with Stafford as compared to Jared Goff, and then the other team that's still remaining playing for the right to hoist the Lombardi Trophy, the Cincinnati Bengals. And you've seen what Joe Burrow has been able to do in the span of 2 years has literally changed the entire complexion of that Bengals franchise with his play, his confidence, his swagger, and his demeanor. That's why I get so excited, and others get so excited about the possibility of Trey Lance becoming Kyle Shanahan's next starting quarterback. He has elite athleticism with his arm as well as his legs. He has a bazooka for his arm, can make any throw on the football field, and we saw that in his 2 starts this year. Is he raw and experienced? Yes, but you pair him with Kyle Shanahan, a very good play caller in this offense with these weapons, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, maybe another wide receiver enters the equation, Jawan Jennings if they bring him back in free agency, as well as a really good offensive line and a very good running game. Trey Lance is that dynamic threat and that dual threat, which can really take the 49ers offense to the next level. With Jimmy Garoppolo, they had a clear ceiling. With Trey Lance and his ability and his threat to keep opposing defenses on their heels, I think this 49ers offense can really get taken to the next level. Now, who do you want as the starting quarterback next year? Is it Trey Lance or is it a veteran like Tom Brady? We talked about him on Friday. More buzz about him potentially coming out of retirement. And if he does, could he come back to his childhood favorite team in San Francisco where he grew up idolizing Joe Montana? This coming from Mike Florio and Pro Football Talk. Let's run through it. So he said, Tom Brady is retired for now. He's under contract with the Buccaneers for now. The question is whether Tom Brady will stay retired and whether the Bucs will make irreversible plans for life without him before he potentially unretires. 6 days after the first annual Brady retirement watch ended, Brady himself commenced the first annual Brady unretirement watch via comments on his podcast where he said, I'm not sure what's going to happen 6 months from now. He left the door open for a potential return. There's a definite, this coming from Florio, and palpable sense that Tom Brady will play again. Some in league circles already believe he could be back by July of this year. The move to watch for is the roster move that the Buccaneers make. After the June 1 date, what the Buccaneers do will be telling. If the Buccaneers put him on the reserve retired list, they continue to own his rights. If the Buccaneers outright release him, Tom Brady is free to sign with any team at any time. And as we've talked about here plenty on the 49ers Report, 2 years ago, before Brady went to Tampa Bay, he wanted to play for San Francisco. They passed. They elected to go with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if they wanted to bring Tom Brady back, and if Brady wanted to come to the Bay to play for Kyle Shanahan and this 49ers team, which is positioned in a spot where they're ready to win a Super Bowl right now, maybe better equipped than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 49ers have a couple of options at their disposal. Could they give Trey Lance another year to develop with Tom Brady, the GOAT, as the starter? That's a possibility, and I think it's a real possibility because look at Tom Brady. He's a cold-blooded assassin. He loves the game of football. Is he going to watch the Super Bowl tonight and he's going to get that feeling that he feels as though he can still play and give a team an opportunity to win yet another Super Bowl? So this continuing to come from Florio, if they give Trey Lance another year to develop, that would give Brady a chance to play for the team in which he grew up cheering, as he grew up in San Mateo. His parents still live in the Bay Area, with a roster that otherwise remains ready to win a Super Bowl, and a head coach who would surely take full advantage of the upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo. Florio with this: if I were a betting man, and fortunately for my bank accounts, I'm not, corny joke, I'd put a few bucks on the currently slim possibility that when the 2022 season rolls around, Brady gets what he possibly currently wants from the Bucs, a way out, and what he definitely wanted 2 years ago from the Niners, a way in. This is fascinating on so many levels. This would send a really big ripple wave throughout the entire NFL. Tom Brady would come back and join forces in San Francisco with the team that he grew up idolizing. He would come out of retirement, which is really just Brett Favre all over again, and the 49ers would be in a spot where they're probably better positioned to compete for a Super Bowl than they would be with Trey Lance. Now, I think that talk is somewhat overrated because everybody's like, you can't win a ring with Trey Lance as the starter. He's in year 2, only started 2 games last year. Well, Patrick Mahomes sat out his entire first year. He only started 1 game that year, and then in 2018, he won the league MVP and nearly made it to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow is in year 2 right now, and he's on the precipice of potentially winning a Super Bowl on top of a national championship that he won in his final year in LSU. This is what we do know. Tom Brady is a definitive upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. And can you pick a better quarterback to develop Trey Lance than Tom Brady? And if Lance isn't ready to play, which you can see why, started 1 game in 2020 as North Dakota State only played 1 game because of COVID and only had 1 full year as a starter back in 2019 at the FCS level. When he was drafted, he was 20 years old, folks. And he was looked at as a developmental project. Now, if Trey Lance were to get drafted this year and he was in this year's draft class, he would be the consensus number 1 player. But a big reason why there's such a vast quarterback market is the draft class this year is considered one of the weaker draft classes at that position that it's been in a long while, and that's why I think that Jimmy Garoppolo can net you about a 2nd-round pick. But if you want to sit Trey Lance for 1 more year and you want to bring in a Tom Brady, he helps you compete for a Super Bowl this year with a roster that is ready to win right now. We're going to continue to cover all of these wild storylines because this offseason, with all of the changes to Kyle Shanahan's coaching staff, all of the roster movement that could take place is set to be straight up fascinating, and that's why you subscribe to the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. We're covering the latest breaking news, rumors. Hey, let's get the 56,000 subs by hitting that red subscribe button down below, and let me know who you want in the Super Bowl. Who do you think is going to win? CIN for the Bengals, LAR for the Rams. Thank you so much for watching today's show. I'm going to make some chili in the crock pot to get ready for the Super Bowl. Hope you all enjoy your Sundays as well, and thanks for watching today's show.